Global leader in security and networking, Cisco inaugurated its first manufacturing facility in India in Chennai. The site will produce Cisco's routing and switching products to meet domestic demand and also be exported from India. And this marks the first phase of Cisco's multi-year investment plan. With this, Cisco aims to drive over $1.3 billion in revenue and also create 1,200 jobs in the state of Tamil Nadu. Joining me now to talk about the new facility, Cisco's India and global plans, is Chuck Robbins, the chair and CEO of Cisco. Chuck, it's always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogue. It's great to have you back. Chuck, we spoke about the manufacturing facility in Tamil Nadu when you announced the decision to go ahead with that. And today you inaugurated the facility just a few hours ago. Take us through what the journey from start to operationalizing has meant for you.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always great to talk to you, and it's always great to be here in India. Sorry I couldn't see you in person, but we're very excited about this announcement today, or the inauguration today. Back in May of 2023, I met with the Prime Minister, and we committed to actually this facility. And I have to say, the most rewarding part of walking through the factory today and touring it, we're seeing the humans who are working in it, where we've created these jobs. It really is fascinating. It's phenomenal. Seeing the products that we're building here and thinking about the future and everything that we can do here, it's just very exciting. But the teams have done a good job getting us to this point. We're excited about it. We're obviously going to use this both domestically and for an export hub. So we think there's a bright future and a lot of runway here.
Well, speaking of the runway, Chuck, this also coincides with the 10-year anniversary of the Make in India campaign that was launched by the Modi government in 2014. Now, I want to understand from you both in terms of meeting domestic demand, but more importantly, in terms of exporting out of India. What does the 5-year trajectory look like?
Yeah, so we have talked to the local team here, and the first product that we started is geared towards the telecom industry, the service providers, and large users of that product are here in India. In several months, we will begin our first enterprise-focused product, and this is all on the journey to support the Make in India initiative and serve the domestic markets the best we can with this facility. We're operating this facility at probably about 10% of what's possible, so we have big plans ahead.
So you said that you're operating with 10% of capacity. By when do you expect the next phase of your expansion to kickstart? I mean, today is the inauguration of what is a multi-year investment plan that you've outlined, but when do you believe that you will kickstart the second phase or the next phase as far as this plan is concerned?
Yeah, I just had this conversation with my team here that said that we'll initiate the second product in this factory in about 6 months.
In about 6 months. You talked about domestic demand and the domestic market, Chuck. You're working with just about every telecom service provider in the country. Take us through where things currently stand on that front, how you see domestic demand. Of course, 5G has taken off, and now we've even got players like Vodafone Idea talking about their own 5G rollout. Jio and Bharti Airtel have already done that. Take me through what you make of the India telecom story today.
Well, it's an incredible story. I just listened to the telecom minister actually take us through the history of the explosion of mobile phones, the explosion of broadband, and we all know the story of the explosion of the connectivity here in this country. And I think that with the proactive effort of the government and what their desire is relative to their leadership in 5G and already contemplating the future with 6G, research and development that's going on here, I think that India has quickly become a leader in the telecom industry around the world.
Let's talk about export and exporting out of this facility for Cisco's global markets. Chuck, how soon are you likely to proceed with your export plans, and how large is the export aspiration out of India? Which are the markets that you're going to be exporting to?
Well, if you look at this first product that we began manufacturing here, this is the only facility globally that will be building this product. So any country, any customer in any country around the world, we will be shipping a made in India solution to them. As we move forward, the government has been great about working with us to expedite export licenses so that we could get active. the entire business case that we made for manufacturing here was really highly dependent upon both serving the domestic market as well as building a robust export capability. So we plan on exporting products to countries all around the world, obviously with a particular focus on Asia where it works. And I think the real key is working with both the state government and the union government around bringing the ecosystem of players here so that it just continues to become more cost effective and a more attractive place for us to keep bringing our manufacturing. The more components and the more of our partners that are in our ecosystem that come here, the better decision this is.
Well, and Chuck, that's what I want to build on in terms of being able to create that ecosystem in India, in Tamil Nadu, around your facility. Take me through cost competitiveness and where things currently stand versus, for instance, the other markets that you have manufacturing facilities in Asia in. What would the disadvantage be at this point in time? And what do you believe the improvement can be once the ecosystem starts being set up here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we made the decision knowing that it would be a little bit of a higher cost for us for input costs, basically because of the transportation of components that aren't local yet. But it's our belief, first of all, we believe that the government here is going to make every effort and will be successful in building a complete ecosystem. So we decided to forward invest knowing that it's going to be a little more expensive. We think by coming here, we will actually help attract and help validate the business decisions of the component and other ecosystem partners to come here. If you think about this one product that we are building in this factory, it has almost 30 layers on the PCB assembly and over 10,000 individual components in a single product. So there's a lot of opportunity. I think by us coming here, it opens up a lot of opportunity for the government to recruit some of these partners of ours, and we're hopeful and we'll be working proactively with the government to make the case for them to come here.
Where are those conversations at, Chuck, in terms of bringing the component partners, the component ecosystem to India? How soon do you believe we're going to see that shift happen? And what would that mean? I mean, you're also making investments in markets like Taiwan, in markets like Vietnam, in terms of manufacturing. In order for you to double down on your investments here in India, will that be a critical aspect to actually see the component ecosystem build out before you double down on your investments here?
Well, I think we had conversations today. We've already seen some early movement of ecosystem partners here and in the ICM space, as an example. And we had discussions today with the government officials here in the state about us working with them to proactively build a list of priority partners that we both want to actively recruit and work on getting to come here. So I think we have a high degree of confidence that it'll be successful. We really don't have any of our future work here that's dependent upon that happening, but I think the business case becomes more obvious to us when that does happen, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Chuck, this $1.3 billion annual revenue that you talk about on account of this first phase of your investment in India, in this manufacturing facility, if you can give me some idea of how much of this is going to be driven by domestic demand, how much of it will be driven by your ability to export out of the country, and potentially what could this $1.3 billion be over the next few years?
Well, right now it's obviously early, so we'll have to see how the breakdown of the domestic demand versus the global demand plays out. So we don't really have a firm number on that yet. But I think when you think about 1.3 billion in the context of our total revenue, I think that gives you a sense of the opportunity for us here. So this is a very small beginning for us here in India, and we look forward to bringing a lot more volume here over time.
Well, looking at the global picture, Chuck, would you say that India is the bright spot today? I mean, it's a fairly volatile market. Would you say that India is the bright spot? It's the silver lining?
We've been here for 29 years, and obviously we have a very strong research and development presence here, as well as some operations. And so the manufacturing is a natural next step for us. I don't know that my team or I have ever been as optimistic and excited about the opportunity in India. We have, over the last year, we opened 3 data centers with 3 different cloud solutions for the India market particularly. And I think you'll see us continue to do that. But we actually have never been more excited about the opportunity in India than we are today.
Well, that's good to hear. But let's talk about what's happening globally as far as Cisco is concerned, Chuck, because it is a difficult environment, as I pointed out. You've marked your 3rd quarter of a revenue decline, and you've seen a 6% drop in revenue. That's the first since COVID. You've also announced a restructuring plan as well as reallocation of capital. Take me through what the key headwinds are today, and do you believe that there has been any relief across any of the challenging conditions that you've been speaking of?
If you go back to our last quarter's announcement and you look at the revenue, it's really important to understand that the revenue numbers that we're dealing with, we have one more quarter, are compared against a year where we really resolved the entire supply chain backlog issues. So the revenue was actually inflated in the prior year. So the comparisons are just going to be off. We have one more quarter of that to deal with. Mm-hmm. So we think last quarter when we talked about our organic product orders, not including the Splunk acquisition, we're up 6%. We saw enterprise recover. I think we began to feel better about the demand around the world, but it's a volatile world with a lot of unknowns right now, but we feel good about our portfolio. We felt good about finally clearing the supply chain situation last quarter, and we're looking forward to getting back to some normal ordering and demand signals from our customers.
Well, yes, I think everyone's hoping for normalcy to return, but you talked about the Splunk acquisition, Chuck, and that's a big one, $28 billion acquisition that you've done. We're hoping to add $4 billion in annual revenue to your $54 to $55 billion revenue base. You've also done a smaller one, Robust Intelligence, a security startup. Is 2025 going to be a big year for M&A as well?
Well, I leave the strategic options for what our development team needs to them. They bring them forward and they talk through the strategic rationale for why they want to do those. We're very happy with the Splunk acquisition. If you think about it in a nutshell, to be a great networking company, you have to be a great security company. To be a great security company, you're going to have to be a great AI company. And to be a great AI company, you're going to have to be a great data company. And we are the only company in the world that has all 4 of those. And so we think that we're well positioned. And we think that if we need other assets to actually continue to build on those capabilities, then we'll make those decisions as necessary.
Well, Chuck, potential for India from an M&A point of view, you talked about data, you talked about security, and we've got a bunch of startups operating in that space. Is there anything exciting on that front from an India perspective?
The exciting thing on the startup front in India is that it's expanding rapidly, and there is a lot of focus on the very areas that are important to us. If my memory serves me correctly, I think we've made 5 acquisitions here, and we launched a $1 billion AI fund to actually invest in AI startups, and I would suspect that there will be lots of opportunities here in India to not only invest but potentially acquire when it makes sense.
You talked about AI, Chuck, so let's build a little bit on that. What's the expectation now, beyond this $1 billion fund that will look at investing in AI-related startups, but outside of that, what is the overarching AI thrust, AI plan for Cisco likely to be? How do you see demand shaping up? What's the expectation and the estimate there?
Yeah, so on the AI front, we're obviously building AI into all the products that we build today. We're leveraging it completely. We're building natural language interfaces in all of our products. We're through a unified assistant that we're building. So if you look at our security platforms as an example, you can actually use natural English language to define a policy and have it automatically deployed. We're also building infrastructure that is going under large language models for training, both the networking infrastructure as well as optics. And then when you look at the enterprise, we're working and have announced infrastructure in the enterprise space that is inclusive of NVIDIA GPUs, third-party storage, as well as our networking security and an orchestration layer that'll be available early in 2025 to help our enterprise customers deploy AI applications in a simpler way. So there's lots of opportunity for us. There's security, and as I mentioned earlier, and I think we're going to have to leverage AI, the massive data sets that we have relative to threat intelligence. We'll be applying AI to help our customers get to faster identification and resolution of security threats.
You know, Chuck, you said that you are hopeful that after the next quarter, there will be a normalcy as far as demand is concerned once the inventory issues are addressed. But I want to understand from you, I mean, what we are seeing across the tech world at this point in time are restructuring announcements, and that does involve laying off the workforce as well. And Cisco has also done that, 2 rounds of layoffs that you've announced. Do you believe that the worst is now behind us in terms of restructuring the workforce specifically, and how much of this is linked to the difficult environment? How much of this is linked to AI?
Yeah, it's never something that we want to do, as you would expect. But the announcement we made was largely around, it is around AI and security. We needed to rapidly shift a meaningful number of resources into AI infrastructure, designing silicon for AI infrastructure, cybersecurity, AI applications, et cetera. So for us, it was more about a reallocation and really less associated with the macro environment.
Chuck, my final question to you before I let you go. You said you've never been more excited or optimistic about India. So leave us with the big headline on what, to your mind, gives you the confidence about how India is shaping up, both from a domestic point of view as well as now as you start manufacturing here from an export point of view.
Well, I think obviously the aspirations and the plan that's being built to get to the 3rd largest economy in the world, the focus on GDP growth here, which then is fueled by building a manufacturing sector that includes exports, which we're excited about. And I have to say that the proclivity for action that I saw in all of our meetings with the government ministers and leaders, anything that we need to help them achieve their goals, they are very focused on delivering in a very timely fashion. And so all of those things, in addition to just the natural talent here, the engineering talent, the focus on telecommunication, the explosion of connectivity, I mean, all of those things lead us to be very optimistic right now.
Chuck Robbins, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations on inaugurating your first manufacturing facility in India. Appreciate you joining us here on the Global Dialogue, and many thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team, many thanks for watching.